Hello and welcome to NARC Live on Wednesday the 18th of February 2026, coming to you live from Norfolk on the east coast of England with Tammy M0TC.
Hello.
And me, David G7ERP. Lovely to see you. It feels like ages since we do this. It's actually several weeks now. Anyway, good to see you this evening. On tonight's show, Carl, K9LA, brings us an update on Cycle 25, plus NASA's Great Observatory and our universe. We look back at a busy science festival last Saturday and we find out what on earth this is or what it's for. It looks like a strange thing, but we've had quite a few entries. If you have not entered yet and you want to, and you can do it in the next couple of minutes, pop it onto BATC or Facebook Live and we will read your entries with everybody else's as well. But first, I'm sorry that I have to start with some very sad news. One of our long-term members, Doug Spooner, 2E0YWP, has passed away. He took both his foundation and intermediate courses and their exams with us. He couldn't come to the club very often because he spent a lot of his life looking after his beloved wife, Noreen. We recently heard from his daughter, though, that he had passed away, and we're very sorry. It was some time ago when he did his exams and things with us. I would say, as an estimate, probably 10 to 15 years ago. I remember Rex being an instructor and them getting on very well, and I have actually written to Rex today just to let him know. But we're very sorry to lose Doug amongst our membership. Doug Spooner, 2E0YWP, now silent, sadly silent key. Now we move on to club news, and in a minute I'll give you lots of dates for your diary of extra things that we're doing. But this Saturday it's our regular sched with Koblenz. It's the 21st of February. It starts at 10 o'clock and it's on 7.123 megahertz as usual. There's also a local talking on 145 250. It's been quite challenging the last few skeds because of the variable conditions. We'll be hearing more about propagation, of course, with Carl later on. But do join us if you can. Everybody is welcome. You don't have to be a member of NARC or anything. This is just something we arrange with the Norwich's twin city of Koblenz every month. This is a little later than normal. So that's this Saturday, the 21st of February at 10 a.m. Now, as we start a new year, we've got various events which we've started adding to our calendar as well as our regular Wednesday meetings. And I thought I'd go through some of those with you now. They've also been on the newsletter and they're also on our website if you want to refer to them later. First, let's have a look at this coming Wednesday, so a week from today, when we'll be meeting at CNS School. And normally, of course, we have our talks here online with NARC Live, and our school meetings, most of them tend to be informals. But one of our members, Steve G3AVA, who is a very experienced repair and service engineer, has offered to do a talk with hints and tips for soldering and desoldering components safely to repair and maintain equipment. Now, I know most of us could probably solder something, solder a plug on or something like that, but obviously when you're dealing with circuit boards, sometimes very old circuit boards as well, or old equipment, they do need different attention. And he has offered to do an informal sort of demo and workshop. We're going to put a camera up as well, hopefully, so that you'll be able to see it there. It's also a social informal though, so if you're not interested in that, then you'll just be able to meet and talk and have a drink as usual. So that's at the school this coming Wednesday, a week from tonight, between 7 and 9:30. Then I've set a date for our tabletop sale. This is always a popular event. The last one was so popular, in fact, that we took over the next room instead of our usual room because it was larger. Not sure if we'll have enough people for that now, but this time. But anyway, our tabletop sale, the first one of this year, will be on 18th of March 2026. So a few weeks' time, I know, but it means that you can start getting stuff ready for that as well. It's completely free to visit, buy and sell if you are a NARC member. And if you're not a NARC member, you can join on the evening for the whole year for just £10. And then Wednesday, the 1st of April, it sounds like a long way away, but it isn't. I don't think there's any significance of being on the 1st of April. It's just that our constitution says that our AGM, our annual general meeting, should be on the first Wednesday of April, if at all possible. So that's on the 1st of April 2026. It's also our construction competition. It adds a bit more interest to the evening and a practical display of things. So if you're a member of the club and you've made anything at any time, as long as it's your own work, in assembling it, it can be a design of someone else's, a kit or a commercial kit, or somebody else has designed it. It needs to just be your work when it comes to construction. You can enter it there, or if you want to, you can even just display something that you've made there if you don't want it to be entered into the competition. It's an evening though to celebrate construction and that part of the hobby. There's also lots of other things happening at our AGM. You, our members, will decide who are the new officers and committee going to take your club through for the next 12 months. We're also going to have an update on how much NARC raised for charity last year. Our nominated charities last year were Prostate Cancer UK and the British Heart Foundation. And there will be a vote by members on which charities we should support this year, very importantly. Also, it will be that, as well as that, one of the awards that we give is for Speaker of the Year. And from this weekend's newsletter, there will be a link where you can go on and really easily just click on who you vote for. You just need to enter your name and call sign for validation. There's no other details taken, so please do that if you've enjoyed these NARC Lives. It's a great way to thank all of those people who have given us talks over the last year. And you'll be able to get that link from the weekend's newsletter, probably go out this Friday or Saturday. And finally, just to remind you really that on Monday nights we have a Monday Night Net on the repeater GB3MB with Steve G3EVA. For some reason it hasn't really picked up numbers since Christmas, and sometimes there's just 2 or 3 people. I went on last Monday and I think there were 4 of us or 5 of us, which is a shame really when there are so many people in this club. So if you like a little informal model on a Monday night, then join the Monday Night Net on GB3MB with Steve G3EVA hosting. It's every Monday, 7:30 on GB3NB. And one other thing to tell you that isn't on that slide, actually, that we have a committee meeting this Tuesday evening. It's actually going to meet here in person here at DCP. So if you have anything that you'd wish the committee to discuss and add to any other business, then please drop an email to either myself or to Chris G0DWV, who's the club's secretary. And that's it for the club news, except that when we haven't got any news from you, our members, actually, for the last few weeks. But we thought we'd tell you about something that the club has done, or a few of us did for the club in the club's name last Saturday. And we're going to look at some pictures now from the Norwich Science Festival, which is on for 8 days, by the way. It started last Saturday, so we were there on the first day, but it goes on for a full 8 days. It finishes this Saturday. And you can see there some of the pictures of our displays. You can see Martin there with his web SDR, because we found, unfortunately, this just too noisy there electrically to be able to put radio aerials up for receive or transmit. The display that's in front of you, immediately in front of you, sort of more to the left of the screen, that's an APRS demo and display put on by James M0UKS, showing people how APRS works. It's a lovely little demonstration there. There's a new marine type GPS there, which James was telling me is so sensitive even inside, and it can pick up so many different GPS satellites, not just the usual ones for this area, but American ones and everything. So very interesting display that. You can now have a look further along the display. That's me standing there. We put together some electronic bits and pieces, really just to try and provide the link between electronics, radio and science. I think so many young people, and many of the visitors are young people and families, they don't really necessarily understand what the connection is. When they have their mobile phone, they think it's a really, really clever little box or their tablet. But of course, lots of it is done remotely. And we were trying to show the basic building blocks of electronics, weren't we, Tammy? Mm. And that's Jim, G3YLA, at the end there, giving people more certificates for proficient sending of Morse. And you will not believe that even in this day and age where everything is so sophisticated, that people love to, young people especially, love to see and hear Morse, and they can send their name and get a certificate as well if they send a message and Jim gives them a signed certificate. So that's what we did there. You can see just to the right of that picture actually one of the new sail flags we bought. There are 2 of those that we've bought. They're quite expensive, but we felt it was important, especially for public displays. I know it doesn't say amateur radio in big letters there, but I think to the average member of the public, it's not really obvious what amateur radio is. So that the key word there is radio. We've got the mast at the top, and hopefully people who are interested in it will come to this and other public displays that we have for our hobby. No picture of you though there, Tammy.
I was on the first picture.
Oh, were you? Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay. But anyway, thanks very much, especially to James, to Jim, to Martin, Tammy, for helping us with that display. I was going to say, and me. No, I can't thank myself, can I?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Anyway, it was a nice display, and I think we did the hobby proud, to be honest, and the club. So, very good. That's enough from me. Muffin old squit. Over to you, Tammy, for some little people. What have you got for us? I haven't seen this.
So it's all Olympic fever at the moment, isn't it? So do you know what the curling balls are made of? They're actually stones, I think they call them, don't they?
Oh, they do. Yeah, and they're made in a particular place, I think, it's off the Scottish Highlands or something like that. It's a particular island they get them from.
There you go.
I think.
Are you sure, though? Because...
well, hang on a minute. They're not tablets. They are, aren't they?
It's cool, isn't it?
So that's what they are.
I reckon those people that do the curling, they're really good at cleaning up at home, aren't they? Because they've always got a brush.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I wasn't going to say this, but on one of my social media feeds the other day, there was a picture that was very funny. I should have shown it to you. And it was someone with something like a Henry Hoover, like that, kind of like those things. And I can't remember what. It was something that slid along the ground. Did you see that one?
I saw that, yeah.
And she was hoovering up behind in front of it, and it was funny. But it's like most social media things that came and went very quickly. But anyway, thank you very much for picking that. Miniature-calendar.com, a new picture every day. Tammy picks one out for us every week. That is good fun and very topical as well. Thanks, Tammy. So do keep in touch with what you've been doing. So we didn't get any real stories or pictures from you in the last few weeks. Some of the things, obviously, I put on the newsletter if they're more appropriate for that. But for NARC Live, we'll be meeting here again in 2 weeks' time. Then please do let us have your pictures and stories and things. It's nice to share it with other people. Anyway, 3 Wednesdays ago, maybe 4 Wednesdays ago, actually, 4 Wednesdays ago, we asked you, what on earth is this?
Feels like a gun. I didn't say that last time.
It is odd, isn't it? Yeah. It is. Do you know, it is something that I think I've seen, even though, as we'll find eventually, if I'm allowed to say this now, it was around before I was around. Which is not much around like that, is there, Tammy? Before you say it. Anyway, do you know what it is? Let's have a look online and see if anybody... Oh, yep, there's somebody there. Mike has put he realised what it is. Nobody on BATC, with 36 people on there. But none of them have put anything. But anyway, we ought to start it off by saying that Mike G8EY says this object is an absorption wave meter, he thinks. Bruce G4KZT, I reckon this is a vintage absorption wave meter. You aim it at your circuit, twiddle the knob at the end, and read the frequency off the dial when the bulb glowed brightest. You could also check for harmonics. By the 1, 2, 3 markings on the side of the tube, I'm guessing it covers 3 frequency ranges. Who'd have known?
Bob G8SDU, could this be a tuning device like a wave meter?
Chris G3XVL says it looks like an absorbent wave meter.
Les G0DFC, the picture of what is this is an absorption wave meter. The bulb lights up when receiving a frequency tuned to the dial settings on the meter. Got one in my shack box.
Roger G3LA says, definitely showing my age now. It's an absorption wave meter from the last century, late 50s. I have one in my workshop even now. This one was probably sent to you by somebody like Paul G3VPT.
Bob G6PWS, looks like an old wave meter. The 1, 2 and 3 are frequencies that are being checked. The side piece is for wave absorption, which should light up the bulb. We didn't really use, but then inspectors did.
Yeah, I guess what they're saying is when they came around, well, here's something else now. Rogers thought that Paul sent this in, but I don't think he did because he's entered here and he says it looks like a portable tunable VHF detector using a torch bulb as an indicator. Similar thing.
Colin M0GMK, this week's object is an absorption wave meter used to check that the transmit frequency of a transmitter is in band. IIRC, the unseen bit has a dial with 2 scales showing the ammeter bands. Rotating the tuning knob will indicate the band when the bulb is at its brightest.
And the longest answer came from Daniel 2E0JNW, says the current item in question is a Raymart rapid band checker, an absorption wave meter used for checking whether the multiplier stages in an amateur transmitter are tuned into the correct harmonics. When brought into proximity of the tuning coil of a stage, then the little filament lamp lighting up indicates resonance, and you can read the frequency off the markings on the dial on the back you carefully hid away from in the photos. I think he had help writing this. I've got a feeling. Anyway, maybe not. This device is from sometime around the 1950s, a time in history when the GPO would sometimes visit amateurs and check whether they were in compliance with the rules that mandated possession of a wave meter by any amateur, or alternatively whether they were quick enough on their feet to borrow one from another amateur and present it in their shack when the time came.
Roger Trett, G8JWT, looks like an old wave meter to me.
So there's quite a few there. Is there somebody else as well? Oh, Steve Webb says it's a wave meter as well. So another one on there. We've seen it before on NARC Live. Daniel said there. We've seen this before. John has said that before as well. Well, not from this person then. It might be something we've used, but we won't be doing this now for...
this is number 127. Oh, this week's is number 127.
Is it?
So please forgive us if we've repeated
and
one.
And there's over 200 shows altogether. Yeah, we may have forgotten them, but it wasn't from the same person. That's something I can tell you. It was a fresh item sent to us.
So what do you think it is?
Well, there's just a little bit of the back of my mind thinking that it might be an absorption...
Well, it is.
Maybe wave meter.
A wave meter.
And look, Daniel got it right. It's a Raymart band checker, so exactly the right model there as well.
Craft decreed.
It does look a little bit homemade, but then I suppose technology in the 50s and manufacturing methods in the 50s were not quite so advanced. And also, of course, it wasn't something they're going to sell absolutely loads of. So there we are. But thank you very much. Richard G0VCW sent that to us. Thank you very much. And I'm sure many of us now have learnt what that does. An MCS, do you know what that means? Even I do, unfortunately. I'm old enough. Megacycles. Because it used to be, they used to say, instead of hertz, we used to say cycles per second. So there we are. Thank you very much for sending us. No, it's not. Move on. You're not just insulting me. You're insulting lots of other people now. Okay. So, do we have anything new before you dig a bigger hole?
You have to say it before I can get the next slide, though.
Well, okay, we're now going to ask you, and we're going to ask you, what on earth is this? Do you know what this is? What it's for, what it does. If you haven't got a specific name for it, you just need to tell us what it does. I think there's a few clues there, really. But anyway, I'm not allowed to tell you. In just under 2 weeks' time, though, we will reveal all. So you've got just under 2 weeks to let us know to radio@dcpmicro.com what that is or what it's for. And we'll reveal all in 2 weeks on the NARC Live. Thanks very much. Well, we nearly are ready for our guest Carl tonight, but before we do, just a quick look at what's happening at the club this week. So as I mentioned earlier, Saturday we've got the Koblenz Sked with our twin city of Koblenz on 7.123 megahertz at 10 a.m. with the local talk-in on 145.250. On 7 o'clock on Sunday, we've got the GB Tourist News on GB3MB. And then at 7:30 on Monday night, the Monday Night Net on GB3MB. And also at 8 o'clock, we've got the CW Net. All details are in the CW News. And then next Wednesday, February the 25th, as I said, we're at the CNS School. It's a social informal, plus that great demonstration of soldering and desoldering by Steve, G3EVA, with a big screen at the front so everybody can see what he's doing there. It's in the usual room between 7 and 9:30. And don't forget to keep us up to date with your stories and your pictures. And of course, we have our special club card that we're happy to send anybody who will be cheered by this card. Just send us your name, and we'll add your name to ours and send the name and address of the person you want us to send it to radio@dcpmicro.com. Now we meet someone who's become really a very regular guest on NARC Live. Carl, K9LA, is coming to us live from the States, and he's going to talk to us tonight about Cycle 25, where we are on that, and also, of course, NASA's Great Observatory and our universe. So good evening and welcome to Carl.
Oh.
Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, real good, David. Tammy, good to see you again.
We in
And
this country, as I told you when we met, 20 minutes or so ago, just before we started, and I said, and that sun is flooding through your window, and everybody
yes,
here,
it is.
we feel very jealous because we haven't exactly got that weather here, I don't think.
Yeah, I told Tammy earlier that we're up about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is above average for this time of year, but we love it, and the sun's out,
Yeah,
so
I'm trying to think what 60
we're
is
enjoying it.
in new money.
Yeah.
I used to think like this, Carl, in Fahrenheit, in my earlier days, in my early youth, but I've got indoctrinated with Celsius, I'm afraid, probably because my business was involved with science education, and we couldn't think in terms of Fahrenheit. Do you know what that is in terms of Celsius, just for us to get really jealous?
Well, let's see.
I think,
Zero's 32, so I'd guess 60's probably in the 20, upper 20s, maybe.
oh, well, what is it? Oh, no, Tammy's put it into her magic box here.
Yeah, there
It's
you go.
15.5 degrees Celsius, so it's
15,
certainly
yeah.
warmer than is here, but
Yep.
I think we're all looking forward to the summer, aren't we?
Okay, very good.
Anyway, lovely to see you again. We'll let you get on with your presentation for us, but as always at home, if you have any questions or comments for Carl, do ask them as we go along, either Facebook or BATC, and we'll read them to Carl at the end. But over to you, Carl. Thanks a lot.
Okay, very good. Yes, this is Carl, K9LA in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's up in the northeast corner of the state. About a half an hour to Ohio and about 45 minutes to Michigan. So we're in the corner of Indiana, in the northeast corner. So what I thought I'd talk about really today is a very quick update on Cycle 25, and then get into some other stuff that's quite interesting. The NASA's Great Observatories. Hopefully you remember them. If not, I will cover them. And also talk about our universe and what's going on. And we seem to have a lot of cats today for some reason being interested in this. Maybe they like the British accent, I guess, whatever. So, excuse me, don't step on a keyboard. It's all I ask. Okay, oops. Page down there. Well, come on. Well, why isn't it? You still there, guys?
Yeah, we're here. It's not moving for us either. It's just still stuck on the same slide. What about a right-hand arrow, Carl? Sometimes that works. On your keyboard, the right-hand arrow?
Okay, hold on here.
No, I think you've stopped sharing. So we'll just quickly come back to full screen. That's okay. That's
Let me share again, just a minute.
Was it moving on your computer then?
That'll be there.
Oh, we can see it now. So we're going to start sharing the screen.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but whatever.
Okay, we've got you now.
Okay, good enough.
Thank you.
So here's the agenda. Like I said, a very quick update on Cycle 25. And the best way to summarize it is, it looks like we're in the decline now, and we'll take a look at that data. Talk about NASA's Great Observatories. There were 4 of them. 2 of them are out of service, but they do have replacements up there now. And 2 are still in service. Then we'll talk about the universe and the James Webb Space Telescope, which replaced the Spitzer telescope, has really taken some interesting data which is challenging our understanding of the universe. Come on, get out of the way there. Okay. So here's the quick update on Cycle 25. Here's the latest data. It includes the monthly mean sunspot number through January 2026, which gives us the latest smooth sunspot number in July of 2025. And of course, the smooth sunspot number is about 6 months behind the monthly means because the smooth sunspot number has much more averaging to it. get the cat out of the way. It was interfering with everything. So the big thick red line is what cycle 25 is doing. And you can see that it looks like it may have peaked in October 2024 at about 160. The two other solar cycles are the green curve is cycle 24, the previous one. It was the smallest in our lifetimes and fourth smallest in recorded history. And also the blue is the cycle 23, which if you do an average on all 24 cycles, cycle 23 was pretty close to an average cycle. You can see cycle 23 in blue and cycle 24 in green both had two peaks. And I'm not aware of any definition of two peaks in a solar cycle. So I've kind of said it's got to be a definitive dip in the smooth sunspot number in between the two peaks. And so what that kind of says is for cycle 25, the probability of a second peak is kind of low. And that's for two reasons. The first reason is only 8 of all 24 solar cycles have had two peaks. And of course, that means that there's been a significant dip in between the two peaks, not just a real little thing. And the second reason is, as you can see from cycle 23 and 24, the second peak occurred about 5 years after solar minimum. So right now, cycle 25 is 5.5 years past solar minimum, which was in December 2019. So I think we're getting too far into cycle 25 to have a second minimum. And as you can see, there's really no hint that a second peak is coming. But all we can do is sit and wait and see what happens. Good, both cats left. Yay. Okay. So what that brings up the question about some of the higher bands. The higher bands being 15 meters, 12 meters, 10 meters, and 6 meters. How is that going to affect the decline of 625? How is that going to affect propagation on those bands? Well, here's the decline of cycle 25 as predicted by NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. The reddish purple is the decline that they think is going to happen. So one of the things for 6 meters, generally we need the solar flux, the 10.7 solar flux, to be greater than 200 for an extended period of time, not just a peak and a short peak, but we need it for a longer time. And you can see we're not going to get to 200. We never did anyway. Well, we got pretty close there in October 2024. But I still expect we'll have some F2 openings due to enhancements. It could be an enhancement in the MUF of the F2 region because of a moderate spike in the K index, or it could be just the variability of the F2 region. It does have ups and downs that we really can't explain too much yet because we don't have a good understanding of short-term events in the ionosphere. Now, of course, we can just hope for sporadic E in the summer for 6 meters. On 10 meters, we need a solar flux of greater than 100 or so. And that, again, that's a long-term version of the solar flux, not daily or weekly. And what that says is we should have good propagation on 10 meters out to the end of 2027. Maybe a bit sooner, a bit later, depending on the rate of decline of the solar cycle. And 15 meters, it doesn't need as much F2 region ionization because it's a lower frequency, and it probably will go out to the end of 2028 before we see things start falling off. So there's still lots of good DXing and contesting and just local chatting on 10, 15, and 12 meters for at least another year. Now, one thing I'll mention is since it looks like we're in the decline of the solar cycle, that's when coronal holes are most prevalent during the decline. Around solar maximum, that's when coronal mass ejections, CMEs, are most prevalent. Unfortunately, coronal holes screw up the Earth's magnetic field more than coronal mass ejections do. So we're going to have to put up with some disturbances to propagation while we still enjoy propagation on the higher bands. And if you have a question about propagations on 17, 20 meters and the lower bands, the MUF is not too much involved because there's usually enough ionization in the F2 region for those bands. And the lower you go, what's really important is ionospheric absorption. So let's get into, boy, cats with all their hair. I got all kinds of itchy stuff here. NASA's great observatories. Like I mentioned earlier, there were 4 of them. Why were there 4? Well, they each were made to measure different wavelengths in the electromagnetic spectrum, and we'll get to that on the next slide. The first was the Compton Gamma Ray Observatory. Went from 1991 to 2000, then it was decommissioned. Obviously, from the name, it's measuring gamma rays. And it was replaced with the Swift Observatory and the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope in 2008. I'll get to why there are 2 of them there in the next slide, I believe it is. Then the next one was the Chandra. I'm not sure how you pronounce. That's a shortened version of the guy's name. Chandra X-ray Observatory in 1999. It's still in service, and it measures X-rays. Of course, X-rays are important for amateur radio because the hard X-rays, which are about 0.1 to 1 nanometer wavelength, they impact the D region, whereas the softer X-rays from 1 to 10 nanometers impact the E region. So the Hubble Space Telescope, probably the one that's most well known, launched in 1990, and it's still in service. And it's looking mostly at visible light. The Spitzer Space Telescope, it was measuring infrared wavelengths since 2003 to 2020. And it's been replaced with the James Webb Space Telescope in 2021. And that's the one that's really causing us to rethink about, well, maybe we don't understand the universe too much. So here's a picture of the electromagnetic spectrum. Of course, it goes from gamma rays to radio waves. And on there are the 4 original satellites and what part of the electromagnetic spectrum they cover. Top left, there's Compton, gamma rays, any wavelengths less than 0.1 nanometers. That's a very, very, very high frequency. Then there's the Chandra, whatever, X-ray Observatory. And then the Hubble covered the longer wavelength ultraviolet rays, like the ones that cause sunburn. It didn't cover ultraviolet. And then the Spitzer, you can see it covered infrared, mostly the far infrared. And it was replaced with James Webb. You can see the James Webb there at the bottom in the middle. It covers basically from visible light through the mid infrared range. And it is a major improvement over the Spitzer telescope. So it has better resolution and more sensitivity, which translates to it can see back in time farther, see farther back in time. And I just thought I'd throw 10.7 centimeters where that lands. It's in the microwave segment of electromagnetic spectrum. Our ionizing wavelengths are extreme ultraviolet for the F2 region and X-rays for D and E region. So you can see that 10.7 centimeters has nothing to do with ionization, but it's a proxy for extreme ultraviolet and X-rays. And it can do rather well if you do lots of averaging on the measurements to take out all the spikes. Okay, here's Compton. It was, like I said, it was launched in '91, decommissioned in 2000. And it was replaced with the Swift Observatory and the Fermi Space Telescope. There are two of them because the Swift is used to rapidly locate gamma ray bursts. And the Fermi, it does continuous monitoring of gamma ray bursts. So they work very well together to find out where the gamma ray burst came from and then take some longer term measurements on it. And you can see the Compton Gamma Ray Observatory had 4 instruments on there. I'll let you read that. I'll send a PDF of this presentation, David and Tammy. So, yeah, okay, here's some major discoveries from the Compton telescope. It found a new class of galaxies powered by supermassive black holes. That's pretty interesting. And it also found out that gamma ray bursts are the most distant and powerful explosions in the universe. And initially, scientists thought that gamma rays bursts just came from certain areas of the universe. But as you can see in that image, those are locations of gamma ray bursts, and they come from everywhere in the universe, even probably other galaxies, and they can be big enough to do that too, to at least have a signature in like in the ionosphere or low frequency stuff. It was named for Arthur Holly Compton, who's a physicist, and there's a URL if you want to go read more about that satellite. Okay, the next one is the Chandra X-ray Observatory. It was launched in 1999, still in service. And you can see it monitors from 0.1 to 1 nanometer. Those are hard X-rays. And like I mentioned, that's involved in the D region. And 1 to 10 nanometer soft X-rays, which are involved in the E region. You can see it had a lot of stuff on it. It always has a mirror and needs an antenna to point towards Earth and all that kind of stuff. So, and here are some of the major discoveries of it. It watched 2 galaxy clusters collide, and that's what that image is on the right. The inner X-ray shocks are the blue, and you got hot gas from cluster 1 and hot gas from cluster 2. And you can see there are some radio shock wavefronts. So that was something that really got astronomers and physicists excited. It also glimpsed a supernova turning itself inside out after an explosion. Now that's must have been a pretty big explosion. It's named for that guy. I won't even take a shot at pronouncing the name, but he's an Indian, American Indian, over in India, astrophysicist. And there's a URL for a website to catch just to get more information about that observatory. Okay, here's the Hubble Space Telescope. Like I mentioned, it's probably the most familiar of everyone, for everyone. It's launched in 1990. It's still in service. And it monitors generally from right when just after the extreme ultraviolet up to 2500 nanometers, which is in infrared. But it's most famously known for its visible measurements from 400 to 700 nanometers. It's got lots of, it's like all the satellites, they need solar panels and they need an antenna to get back to Earth. And they got mirrors. This one has a primary and a secondary mirror and all kinds of other stuff to make sure it works right. And I'm sure you all remember the Hubble had to have its mirrors replaced, I believe it was, because there was an error in them. But it's working real good and it's discovered a lot of stuff. For example, it discovered 2 moons of Pluto. Of course, Pluto isn't a planet anymore, so I'm not sure how that fits in, but whatever. It also detected dark matter from gravitational lensing. In other words, light from other galaxies was gravitationally lensed around another galaxy, and we think that's due to dark matter. Dark matter keeps galaxies together, otherwise they'd fly apart because the gravity of a galaxy isn't big enough to hold a galaxy together, and so that's where kind of dark matter came in. And of course, I don't have to say anything about dark matter because we don't know what it is yet. It also determined the rate at which the universe is expanding. That's the Hubble constant. And that's due to dark energy, which, again, we don't know what that is yet either. There are 2 different methods to measure this Hubble constant. They're close, but they're different values. So there's still some stuff going on that we don't understand. And of course, knowing how fast the universe is expanding, we can work backwards. And that led us back to the age of the universe to be around 13.8 billion years. This one was named for Edwin Hubble. He was an astronomer. And there's a URL to go check on more of that. Okay. And the last one is the Spitzer. That's the infrared one, launched in 2003 and it's been replaced. You can see it's got solar panels and helium tank to keep things cool, nitrogen tank, probably for the, keep things cool, maybe. There's a high gain antenna down there, batteries, star tracker, and it's quite big. And it performed well over its almost 20-year lifetime. Okay. And what did it do? It discovered a giant ring of Saturn. It revealed a system of 7 Earth-sized planets around a star 40 light years away. Pretty good. And it studied the most distant known galaxies at the time, based on its capabilities. It's named for Lyman Spitzer, an astronomer. And there's a URL to go look at a little bit more on that satellite. Like I said, it did a great job, but the James Webb was designed to be better, and so it could look back farther in time. Okay, now let's talk about the universe. That's home sweet home for us, of course. And here's our current understanding of the universe. It's a pretty interesting picture. It's got some interesting phases of the universe. Of course, way on the left there, the Big Bang. Our understanding at the moment is that that's what started everything. Big Bang is kind of like when my 3CX 800 tube shorted. That was a big bang, let me tell you. Okay. And then we went through a period of inflation, or not we, the universe went through a period of inflation. That's the white area. Then things started cooling down. And after about 400,000 years, most people say it's about 380,000 years, that's when we saw the cosmic microwave background and we were able to measure it. Then we had dark ages because there weren't any stars or galaxies yet to light up the universe. And the first stars started around 400 million years. I've seen values that are a little bit different than that, but let's just say it's 400 million years. That's quite a bit. And then galaxies started forming, and here we are. And the last thing is the dark energy accelerated the expansion. I'm not sure how they discovered that. I'm gonna have to figure that out because it's kind of interesting that nobody was around a billion years ago to say, well, it was different than it is now. Oh, whatever. And here's some words about those phases. The Big Bang about 13.8 billion years ago. Inflation was very rapid, quick expansion of the universe, like in the first instant after the Big Bang, 10 to the minus 6 to 10 to the minus 32nd time frame. And then we had a quark soup. That's when particles coalesced and quarks formed protons and neutrons. Now, what's a quark? Well, there's 6 of them. 2 up quarks and 1 down quark makes a proton, and 1 up quark and 2 down quarks make a neutron. So protons and neutrons are made up of smaller particles. Also got to remember, electron isn't. It's not made up of any smaller particles. And that's kind of interesting to think about. Then about 3 minutes after the Big Bang, protons and neutrons fuse into the first nuclei. Okay. And then recombination, about 380,000 years took place when electrons started combining with nuclei, protons and neutrons, to form atoms. And that made the universe transparent, and it released the cosmic microwave background. Now, before that, the universe. The universe was opaque, and that's because all those electrons floating around there kind of made a fog, and you couldn't see much, I guess. Now, the Dark Ages were 380,000 to 400 million years. The universe is filled with gas and dark matter, but like I mentioned, there's no light-producing sources. And then the first stars and galaxies came along, and their UV radiation fills the universe, and that helps things move along. Our solar system's about 4.6 billion years old. And dark energy acceleration started about 5 billion years ago. And of course, dark energy causes the expansion of the universe to increase. So, like I said, we don't know what dark energy is. Okay, so here comes the James Webb Telescope to replace the other one. The Spitzer, that's right, Spitzer. And it focused on infrared wavelengths. And one of its goals is to find very early galaxies. Now it's about 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. It's orbiting the L2, the Lagrange number 2 point. And there's a little sketch at the bottom left there showing the sun there's in the middle, the white, Earth is blue. And then to the right of that is L2. So it always stays at that L2 point, and therefore you can see most of the universe without the sun interfering too much. Now here's the image that has raised questions about our understanding of the universe. And there's a galaxy it saw. It's named MOM-Z14. So what does that mean? Well, they found that the James Webb found that galaxy in May of 2025. And it also found other galaxies at even higher redshifts. So that's what the Z14 is in the title of that galaxy. It's a redshift. And what we're talking about is Doppler. You know, you're all familiar with you're standing at a train station and here comes a train and its pitch decreases as it goes by. That's because the train is decelerating from your point on the station. Now, redshift of 14, that's pretty darn high. What happens is the wavelength of the hydrogen Lyman alpha line, 121.6 nanometers, lengthens by Z plus 1, or 15, times to 1824 nanometers, which is infrared, due to the Doppler shift from the expanding universe. So what that says, going to the graph there, that a Z shift of 14 says this galaxy formed about 280 million years before or after the Big Bang. And earlier we said stars and stuff didn't start forming until around 400 million years. So there's a pretty interesting result from the James Webb Telescope. It says our current understanding of the keep saying ionosphere, darn it, of the universe isn't complete, maybe. So what's going on? Well, are we interpreting the data from the James Webb Space Telescope correctly? I'm sure lots of people are wondering about that. Did star formation and galaxy formation start much earlier than what we believe? So in other words, is that timeline of the universe, maybe it's not correct. So did that galaxy come from another universe? That's been discussed quite a bit. If you want to get into a lot of this stuff, just Google Brian Cox. He's a physicist over on your side of the Atlantic, and also Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's an American physicist, and they talk about all kinds of stuff. And it's very interesting to think about what's going on. So is the 13.8 billion years correct for the age of the universe? Maybe it's not. I've even seen some of those physicists discuss Einstein's relativity, and out of that comes the age of the universe. The universe is, I think it's around 26 billion years, or was it 46? It's a lot longer. So some physicists got some stuff to think about. Is the Big Bang really the start of the universe, or is it just a transition period, and the universe has lasted forever? One of the theories is that the Big Bang expands the universe, and then eventually it's going to contract, and there'll be another Big Bang. So who knows? And how does dark matter and dark energy fit in? Maybe it's done a lot to the timeline too. So there's lots of questions, and that's about all I can say about it. Try and follow it pretty good because it's very interesting to me. So Here's a summary. Cycle 25 is likely in its decline. We still have at least a year or so of great propagation on 15, 12, and 10 during the daytime in the northern hemisphere fall and winters. Expect some F2 on 6. Let's also hope for a good sporadic E in the summer. And the James Webb Telescope has raised interesting questions about our understanding of the universe. Doggone it. Of the universe. Maybe we'll learn more about the standard model of particle physics if we learn something. That's interesting. There's the standard model of particle physics. There are 17 of them. They consist of quarks, 6 of them in orange, and green are the leptons. The blue are gauge bosons and the Higgs bosons in the middle. Now, of those 17, I think I kind of understand 6 of them. I think I understand the up quark, the down quark, the electron, of course, the gluon, which keeps quarks together when they form protons and neutrons. Photons, I think I understand them, maybe. And also the Higgs boson, which it's said to give mass to all those particles. So I don't claim to understand how that happens, but I know it's out there, and it was recently discovered in the, or verified that it exists in the CERN collider there in Switzerland. So that's all I had, David and Brandy. If there are any questions, I can sure try and answer them. Again, the universe is kind of big, and it's got a lot of stuff in there, and that's for sure.
Absolutely, and as I've learnt from doing this now for some years, there's lots of different opinions and feelings about it as well, and there are certainly scientific facts to back some things, and others are just theories. And I guess it's going to be like that maybe forever. Certainly probably outlast all of us. I think you'd agree, Carl.
Yes.
But thank
I
you.
would hope so.
Thank you for a really good presentation, and extending it more from propagation cycle 25 from all of the presentations we've done in the last 6-12 months. I think everybody we've talked to also feel that we're probably on the decline, but you never know, we might see another peak. But make the most of the bands is the message, isn't it? Make the most of, especially of those lower bands, as you said. So if you haven't already done so and you want to ask any questions or make comments for Carl, then do that right now. We have had a few comments and questions. Some of them I can't read everything because there's links and things like that. But I'm going to read as many as I can to you. So we'll start with the first one that came in, which was from Tony G0MQG, who says, "Hi, HF propagation and the solar cycles. 10 meters has always been my favorite HF band. I use a Yaesu FT1000 and a CB vertical retuned to resonate on 10 meters instead of 11 meters, and it works very well. At sunspot maximum, I can easily work into the US and Asia. During minimum, it'll make you wonder if I've forgotten to plug the aerial in," as he says. So there we are. Not really a question, but a comment there from Tony. Steve G0KYA, actually totally unrelated to this, but if you'll excuse me just mentioning it, because I think he's trying to help anybody. If anybody still, this is from Steve, if anybody still needs Desatio Island, try 40 meters FT8 around 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. tomorrow. That's GMT UK time. I worked them this morning on my second call. Easy. I think there's a grey line enhancement, and there is little competition. So there we are. It's sort of linked with propagation. I hope that's all right, Carl, to mention that.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Tony G0MQG also says, "It's said by Professor Brian Cox that there are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on every beach in the world."
Yeah.
Not sure how he counted the stars or the grains of sand, though. Wow. Okay.
It's interesting that, Brian and Neil talk about, there are billions of stars and there are billions of galaxies. So where's everybody else? Why
Yeah.
haven't we been visited with some proof that we were visiting? And it makes you think that, and they start thinking about, our progress from a single cell up to a civilization of intelligent beings. Well, some of us are intelligent, I guess, but oh well. Um, and
I agree.
there's probably,
It is hard to know, isn't it? You'd think
yeah,
by
there's
now
probably
we would have.
lots.
Sorry?
I, I, I believe there's lots of life out there, but how many of them have developed into, uh, civilizations like us, and how did they overcome the distances? I mean, it's great. It's something else.
And
And
are they life forms that we can communicate with, or
yeah,
yeah?
yeah,
Well,
of course.
it's yet to
Yeah.
come. I've got a couple of comments here, which I'm going to try and do some justice
Okay.
to, although they're a little controversial. Dave G8 ADM says, I read that the Earth started to grow from 4.5 billion years ago, I guess that is, and humans formed 2.5 million years ago. There we go. That's what Dave says.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
John J8VPE says, so that means that we've only been here for the last 2 seconds on the 24-hour clock equivalent.
That's right.
That
Yeah.
does put it in perspective, John. Okay.
And you think, I think we've had what, five major extinctions, the last one being about 63 million years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe we're just lucky. And our start as single cells has got us to where we are.
But I mean, these wonderful telescopes and other bits of scientific equipment, I guess they really are expanding our understanding. I think this is just a personal feeling now, because all this must be, but I think we're still asked to take quite a lot for granted, and that's got to be down to individuals, and of course faith comes into this somewhere. And I mention that because a couple of things really. Firstly, and I think we should probably be here like we are on the air, and we don't talk about politics and religion and things. But nevertheless, Ralph 2M0RHT says, in the beginning there was nothing, then it exploded. Try Genesis chapter 1 to 3. And that's Ralph's belief. But
Hmm.
before that, he also said, the science of electromagnetic discovery was, of course, discovered by James Clerk Maxwell here in Dumfries and Edinburgh, with a little
Right.
help from Cambridge, he says. And
Yep.
he's always representing that corner, I can tell you, Carl.
Yep.
M7TTT on Pluto, this is. There's no real questions for you at the moment. I'm sorry about that, but these are just people's feelings. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union, or the IAU, demoted the much-loved Pluto from its position as the 9th planet from the Sun to one of 5 dwarf planets.
Right.
And that is controversial, isn't it? I remember going, my
Yep.
business was science education, Carl. I don't know if I've ever told you that before. So I used to go 2 or 3 times a year, the National Science Teachers Association, the NSTA show in America. I used to go to that for my work,
Okay.
and I often had some very interesting lectures and the talks. But I remember one year this was really hit the news, and they were selling bumper stickers. I think you call them over there. We call them, just car stickers for the car, saying,
Okay.
"Who what does it say? Honk if."
Honk if you think Pluto's a planet.
Yeah, honk if you think Pluto's a planet. And it was a real thing, and they were giving these away by the thousands to teachers going to this NSTA conference. But
Yep.
yeah, anyway.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. Let's move on now. M7TTT. I'm going to read it for completeness, but you need to probably look at this. This comment's actually on people who are watching on Facebook. The philosophy of Tao explains in simple terms the Big Bang described about 5,000 years ago with simple symbols: black, blank circle, spiral creation and constant expansion, then yin yang, equal opposites, seasons, etc. Doesn't mean much to me, Mike, but you're completely entitled to your opinions, of course, and thank you for sharing them with us. And he's also put a web link on there, which I'm definitely not going to read because it's a very long web link, but it is a NASA web link, and you may want to look over on Facebook, on our Facebook page, to get that. let me have a look down further down here to help me, Tammy, to find these. There's quite a few comments, aren't there?
I think Carl's actually answered that question. That Tony's answered.
Which one?
Already.
This one here. Sorry, yeah. Hi, does Carl believe there is intelligence elsewhere in the universe somewhere? Well, you have kind of answered it, but do you want to... intelligent life, I think, is what he's asking.
Yeah, well, I believe there's single cell microbes everywhere in the universe. But I don't know if our civilization is just lucky for getting to where we are now, because there's so many things that could, mass extinction, a big meteor hits and then we lose a lot, have to start over, which takes a while. There's got to be, with that many stars in that many galaxies. But I don't know how to address the fact that it takes a long time to do that, and there are things that can get in the way.
Yeah.
And then the distances are so great. How do we find out about them? Unless there's just physics that we have no clue about yet that would allow all that to happen. So
I think there probably is, isn't there? It's very difficult with science. It's very difficult to prove, disprove something if you don't really understand it.
Yeah, think about 100 years ago. Yeah, right. Somebody's going to have this little box. You can talk to people all over the world. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's true.
And, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So things like that happen. Mike M7TTT says, thanks, Carl. Fascinating talk on one of my favourite subjects, life, the universe and everything. I can't remember. That was from a famous...
That was Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yes, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Did that make it over your way? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Do you know what I'm talking about, Carl? That was a famous book here and then a TV series. Sort of science fiction. But how would you describe that? I wouldn't say it's esoteric, but that's probably a bit strong.
Well,
it was a bit out there. Have a look at it anyway, Carl. It might interest you. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But it's not. Don't take that literally, because it wasn't quite like that.
I remember the title.
I'm trying to think who wrote it, actually.
Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams. Yes, absolutely.
There were sequels as well, weren't there?
Yeah.
So Long and Thanks for the Fish was one of them, I think, wasn't it?
I
think I might have.
This is the most diverse talk and post talk we've ever had. A lovely comment from Steve Webb, who says maybe they can't afford the gas either, is what he says, which I think is great, and maybe that's an appropriate one to end on. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed, Carl, for covering several things tonight. As always, your propagation updates are invaluable to us to give us some insight into where you think it's going. And as I said earlier, we must make the most of the bands while we're here, because we're pretty much, whatever happens, we know they're going to be in decline somewhere. They're not going to get better now. I think most people would agree with that. Yeah, and
you got to remember, cycle 26 is probably max is about almost 10 years out. So how many of us are going to be around for that?
Well, never mind. Anyway, we hope to see you again soon for another talk. Carl, thank you very much. Enjoyed indeed for joining us tonight. Take care.
Okay.
Look forward to the warmer weather as well.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Carl.
Stop shooting.
There we are. Thank you very much to Carl. Thanks very much for all your comments. Lots of lively debate. Steve Webb, I've just seen, has put The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He put a word, and I thought, what is that? That's in initials, in abbreviations, was definitely on the radio. Couldn't be better. Yeah, it was on the radio. Started on the radio, didn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it did.
I think it was a bit before my time, but I remember listening to an audiobook on tape of it,
there you
which
go.
Maybe was something off the
radio.
radio.
That was probably the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because television sometimes spoils books, doesn't it? Because you've got in your mind, you build a vision of what it is when you read a book, and then suddenly when you see it on TV, it doesn't always match up with it. Anyway, we have covered lots of different things. We've even covered the universe tonight. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Let's just have a quick look now at what's coming on the revision of what's coming on the coming week. So this Saturday, we've got the Koblenz Sked on 7.123 megahertz at 10 a.m. with a local talk-in on 145250. Do join it if you can. It's great to talk to our friends in Germany. On Sunday at 7 o'clock, we've got the GB2RS News on GB3MB. Monday night, 7:30, Monday Night Net on GB3MB, and then at 8 o'clock, the CW Net. And then next Wednesday, February the 25th, so a week from tonight, we're meeting again at CNS. We have a social informal, if that's what you would like to do. But Steve, G3EVA, is also going to come and give us a professional soldering and desoldering demo and workshop, which we'll all be able to look at, hopefully, if we can arrange a camera and a large screen. That's what we're trying to do, isn't it?
I think we can do that.
So I hope to see lots of you then, and do keep sending us your pictures and your stories and everything else. But until we meet again in 2 weeks, from Tammy, M0TC.
Bye-bye.
And from me, David, G7URP. Take care of yourselves. Look after each other. Bye-bye.